Hi, welcome back to Wild Speculations. I'm Daniel.
I'm Scott.
This week we talk about Critical Role Campaign 2, Episode 73, Uthodurn, the
Yes.
live show.
Yes.
Good show.
It was, yeah.
And they, I noticed something on,
Was it that Tellison was the only one who didn't dress up?
no, but they do seem, they way ham it up more
Yeah.
with the audience.
Yeah, they
Um,
do. And I think that's just feeding off of the audience.
oh yeah, for sure. But right off the bat, we have the debate over the map and which direction to go.
Yep.
And Laura's like, I'm just going to go ask for directions.
Yep.
And that was on my rewatch. That was the first kernel of, yeah, Laura's is probably going to get MVP for me.
Yeah.
And
then she instinctively made use of Caleb's feet. Probably the best in-game use of Caleb's feet.
Okay, which way is north?
Which way is southwest? That way. That's where we got to go.
Yeah.
Because the rest of it has been more compensating for the difference between Liam and Caleb.
Right. Or it's been Liam asking Matt, which way do I think is north? Yeah. Bo doesn't take direction.
And doesn't know her left from her right.
Yeah. It's very much, is it Full Metal Jacket or is it a movie that makes reference to Full Metal Jacket? Where they're like stomping on their feet to teach them right from left?
That's Full Metal Jacket.
Yeah. Yeah. And the discussion of Ford being the weakest of everybody. And I think
is formerly the weakest member. Don't know that that's ever actually been true. Squishiest, yes. Weakest, I don't know
about. Yeah, well, I think definitely not, because, I mean, technically he had some of the, he had the highest attack stat first.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Or he got to 20 first, memory serves.
He started there, I think, didn't he?
No, I think he had an 18 to start with.
Okay.
And everyone else had to get the second +2 at 8th level to get to their 20s.
He took it at 4th, yeah.
Yeah, and I think...
No, he did start with it, because he put one of his 2+1s in intelligence, and then the feat gave him a +1. He started with 20.
Okay. Well, anyway, yeah. But yeah, so, but I think Travis was really worried because both weapon options that he had were D4 weapons.
Yes.
And I think he was really worried about that. Especially because any other class with a D4 weapon is going to be way underpowered than what they're normally. Like a fighter is usually rocking D8 or 10 or 12.
Yeah.
Same with the barbarian.
Yeah. Same with the paladin.
Yeah.
Rogue's got the sneak attack.
Yep. And the cantrips for your casters, most of them are D8s.
D6
or better.
to D8, yeah.
So he's rocking that D4 with nothing to add on it. Because that's the sauce of the rogue.
Yeah.
Like the rogue can get away with that D4 because of their pile of D6s they're rolling for sneak attack.
Mm-hmm.
And he had none of that. So,
but he did get to keep his martial weapon proficiency.
Yes. And
Which, I don't know. It almost, like, Matt was doing really good with the damage rolls, but it almost seems like he was making up for it by being nicer in other ways. Like the hiding in the snowbank. And
oh no, that was legit. Like, to me, that was legit. But he was being nice in other ways, and also mean in other ways.
yeah.
Because
I just remember there was several times in that fight where I was like, Matt's being really nice to him tonight.
I think I had two. When he let them grapple. I don't know if that card has any size restrictions, and they ignored that part of the text,
Right.
or it doesn't. Matt knows that, and so he's letting it go.
Yeah.
And because it's a magic thing, but he did basically, okay, you have it grappled. It's going to take you with it, and then Caleb used Bigby's hand.
Yeah, same thing.
To pull him out. So,
but yeah, I mean, if I had been the DM, and not trying to backseat, but if he was going to get rid of his patron stuff and his warlock stuff, he would have gotten rid of everything from the patron, which would include the proficiency in martial weapons. I'd let him keep the skills, the light armor, the simple weapons, all the base stuff from the class. If that's how I was going to do narratively, everything that you got from your patron is gone.
Except Matt probably ascribes to the view that the pact can't really be undone.
Yeah.
And also, based upon Travis's comments last week on Talks, made me rethink what we said last week on our show, which was I'm doubting that he's going to let him get out of Hexblade, that he will remain a Hexblade. And I'm even doubting that there will be a patron change, which is what we've been really sort of focused on.
Yeah.
Is that Matt will allow the patron change. There has been a lot of in-game foreshadowing of that, especially with the wreath and the crook on the anvil that stood out to him.
Yeah.
And that the sword that they're reforging is going to be this thing. So I think there's still enough evidence for the patron change. I'm not saying it's not going to happen.
Right.
But the way Travis was talking made me think that maybe Matt's not even going to go that way. Even though I think he's set it up that way.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, on the one hand you've got that, but on the other hand he's already taken stuff away. So are those just 9 wasted levels then?
And that's the other side of the coin also. Like,
I don't think Matt would do that. You don't get any of the spells or special abilities except for a few proficiencies from these 9 levels.
Matt was... I don't think he was under any special mechanical things other than you don't have pact magic and your invocations aren't working. I think other than that, Matt let him keep his hit points.
So you think he can raise a specter? That's neither pact magic nor an invocation. You think he can still Hexblade's curse?
Probably not.
I'm thinking he let him keep the hit die, the martial weapon proficiencies, the medium armor proficiency, and that's it. No Hexblade's curse, no charisma to the weapons, because that's why he only had the +5 with the whip, because it was the +1 for the whip and +4 for his proficiency.
Yeah.
So he doesn't get the Hexblade's curse, doesn't get the charisma bonus, doesn't get to raise specters, doesn't get his invocations, which means water breathing is gone.
Yeah. Control water.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, because he had the gift of the depths. That's how he could cast water breathing on everybody. Yeah. That's the only way for a warlock to get that spell.
Yeah. Well, he also had from putting the sphere in the thing.
Yeah. Which I think it's funny that he used the spell, but he never made reference to the fact that even without the spell, he could breathe water.
Yeah.
And he can't raise specters.
Yeah.
Which is pretty much.
Well, and we'll also see because
you're a shite fighter for 9 levels. Here you go.
Yeah. But I think only time will tell.
Yeah.
And it's possible that he has his powers back but doesn't know it.
That's possible. What I think it is it's you're going to be without the powers for a little while narratively. I still think I still think there's going to be a patron change.
Yeah.
I do think he'll stay Hexblade because of the sword and the martial. And I think he is going to be without his magic abilities until they reforge the sword.
Yeah. Which is probably 2 episodes?
Yeah. 2 to 3. So you're looking at most 4 episodes without magic.
Yeah. But one of the things that I wanted to sort of focus on from that fight was finally we keep talking about how combat is roleplay. Mm-hmm. And for tonight's show, I wanted to break down each piece in that fight that was roleplay.
Okay, before we get into an in-depth discussion on that, and I want to do that, I just have one more question about Ford and the Patron Switch.
Okay.
When he became a warlock of Uk'otoa, he took on Vandrin's voice, who had been a warlock, who had been a servant of Uk'otoa. When he lost those powers, he went back to his British accent. When he becomes a warlock of the Wilde Mother, will he take on Kaz accent? Please, Travis, if you see this, do that at least for a couple episode or so, or just a few minutes to freak everybody out.
Okay. He may do that. And not to troll anyone or anything, but I think as a character choice, he may actually do that.
I thought about that and I was like, that would be hilarious.
Or at least take on his cadence a little bit.
Yeah. And I would love to see Sam's reaction when Travis does that out of the blue.
Yeah.
Okay. Now to the more serious.
Yeah. So right off the bat, Caduceus tries to defuse the encounter. He tries to warn the wolves off.
Yes.
Which was a great setup for this encounter for Matt to use. Mm-hmm. Set him up with this thing, and then hit him with the other thing. But the Mighty Nine's overconfidence at facing down some wolves. Even Caleb.
Oh, yeah. They're just wolves.
I'll be on the
They're
outside.
Like 9 feet long. I'll go to the inside, yeah. I've rethought the situation.
Yeah.
Sounds like most of my characters, because I usually play squishy spellcasters.
Yep. But Jester's fear and her struggles.
Yeah.
With, do I damage? Do I heal?
Yeah. You know, and I love the surprise when the baby comes out.
Yeah.
You know, you've got Travis, Marisha. Oh my God, what the hell is happening? You know, just like total panic. You've got Liam being Caleb. Just, yeah, okay. This is this. You've got Sam giddy like a schoolgirl. Like, oh my goodness. You've got Laura, what the fuck is happening? What the fuck is happening? And you've got Taliesin, my favorite expression. Oh, you fucking didn't. you brought those in. He knew exactly what it was from the rumble. You can see it when it dawns on his face.
Yeah. And an interesting choice in monster.
Yes.
On Matt's side.
And I think it goes back to, and he's done it several times in this campaign, where he's takes a classic monster that is often overlooked and brings it to, the smothering rug, the gnolls.
Well, and Friday night when I was watching it live, I think I was cooking dinner.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't watching it. I was just listening to it. And when he said the Earth was roaming and this thing erupts, my brain first went to a Grick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it wasn't until I looked at the video and I was like, "Oh no, that is not a Grick."
Yeah.
So yeah. But for all the shippers, Widow Jest.
We got the true Tusk Glove.
Yeah. But Widow Jest turned the tide of the battle.
Yeah.
With him, after Bo's no fire and ice, he's like, no, and then polymorph Jester.
Yep. Into a mammoth, which is why I called it the real Tusk Glove.
Yeah. I thought of a fun table rule. Probably not enforceable, but it would be fun. That the verbal component for polymorph is you have to make the sound of the beast that you're turning them into. Okay. Just because Liam did the elephant so well.
Yeah, that would be fun.
But yeah. But not flanking and diving into the snow, which you said you had a issue with. I had no problem whatsoever.
I don't know. Like, I probably would have been okay with it if he had done some kind of acrobatics or athletics check to get deep in, especially since Matt gave him no movement hindrance. He specifically said it was because of the ring, meaning ring of water walking. Yeah. So if that's keeping him buoyant on the thing, then he should have to make some kind of check to get under it.
Yeah, but I think you can will yourself under the water with the ring of water walking.
Okay. I don't know, just that, and then the one with the tree. I'm not a fan of, I'm going to stand right behind this pole, and because line of sight is blocked, I'm completely hidden. You don't know I'm behind the pole hiding. I'm not a fan of that stealth check. Not
fair.
Not unfair raw, but I believe unfair as intended.
Okay. But I mean, it's funny that like Liam's thing was like that he doesn't know how to play a rogue for the election, and I think this fight was the best solo rogue fight that we have seen on this show.
Okay.
I don't think Liam ever was as good as Sam as Vax in his tactical maneuvering and maintaining his sneak attack every round.
I'll agree with that.
Because like when he fought the Briarwood, when he got caught by the Briarwoods, I mean, that was a shit show.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was a great moment in the campaign, and it led to some great stuff later. But like, I think Sam in this show showed the same level of thinking that he displayed in the fight against Vecna.
Yeah.
Where he kept his 9th level spell slot to try to save Vax. He did everything he could to stay within counterspell range.
Mm-hmm.
Like everything that Sam did in that fight was almost perfect strategy.
Mm-hmm.
And in this combat, it was a similar kind of display where he was like, and even in the second time that he, after the small Rimmerans came after him,
mm-hmm.
and he ran away, I was just like, bonus action disengage. You don't have to worry about it. But he was planning on the hide check
mm-hmm.
to get his sneak attack. So
yeah, and as soon as he said he was running without I knew what he was doing.
Yeah,
because especially when you're a rogue, or a goblin, because goblin gets 2/3 of cunning action racially, you have to juggle what's more important. Do I risk the attack of opportunity and get to hide?
Yeah.
Or do I get away safely and have a low damage turn?
Yeah.
And it's a gamble because either way, it's still a D20 roll.
Yeah.
I mean, I could let him take the attack and he could get in at 20.
Yeah. Well, and Matt did give him disadvantage on that second stealth check.
Yeah. I can try to hide and I could roll a natural 1.
Yeah.
So it's just, do you trust your luck with the die more or the GM's luck with the die more?
Yeah. And then Ford is very much what he did in this fight was still very similar to what he would have done if he had the Sword of Fathoms, I think, which is interesting and is also the first time, well, not the first time, but the biggest evidence that we have that Ford is good aligned.
Yeah. I'll agree with that.
By putting his body on the line.
Yeah. I don't think it's what he would have done if he had the Sword of Fathoms. And that could be an argument for
certainly the
evil taint of the, of Uk'otoa, being free of that. But if he had the Sword of Fathoms, he'd have been standing back and Eldritch Blasting more. He wouldn't have gotten up there.
It's true.
I mean, it could be lack of options. It could be roleplay. Hey, the taint of Uk'otoa is gone, and I was just reading the taint as Ford's evil.
Yeah. But we also have Bo.
Power corrupts.
Yeah. We also had Bo rushing in and beating face.
Yes. And I love the moment she completely, and it was completely RP. It wasn't tactical. Do you want to stay on it? How close am I to Jester? Okay, I'm staying.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stay for my friend. I'm not gonna stay because I've done it where my character has jumped on the back of a dragon, and the DM ruled that because I was technically on the other side of pretty much anyone, that everyone got flanking. So I was like, I'm staying on as long as I can. Yeah. That's a tactical advantage for us.
Yeah.
And the jumping on was role play. The staying on was not.
Yeah.
It was purely tactics.
Yeah.
So I love that moment, especially as she's debating, because she's like, it would be smart to get off, but Jester's here. I need to stay.
Yeah. And I think my favorite moment of the episode was after she goes unconscious.
Mm-hmm.
And Matt says it burrows into the ground.
Yeah. No, well, okay, let's rewind that a minute. She goes unconscious. She says, don't kill me in the live show, please. He says, yes. It burrows underground.
That's true. That was the perfect setup.
That made it that much better.
That's very true. Which I do wonder what that thing had in its lair.
Yeah.
Because I think Matt was trying to get them to chase it to its lair.
Yeah.
Because even if Bo died, they have diamonds.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I do wonder what that thing had in its lair. Maybe it had mithril.
Maybe.
Or the
Ice Flex?
Yes, Ice Flux.
Actual Ice Flex?
So, yeah. But, also, like, in character, they had a moment of discussing strategy when Jester says to Bo, use your gloves.
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
get close. And she's like, yeah, but I can only use these once a day. And I'm thinking, when is there going to be a better time?
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. It's like, yeah, you get her once a day, but you need it now.
You did 26 points of damage to it and took like 27 or 30 something. The
27, 3 nines.
The exchange rate on her damage output
was not favorable.
Suboptimal.
Yeah, no, that was the perfect time in the day. Even if they had gotten in another, because chances are they wouldn't have gotten in a fight with another one of those.
Right. Yeah.
And she'll do much better punching a wolf up close than she will punching one of those things up close.
Yeah. So yeah, Bo's stubborn refusal to learn was the characteristic most on display this episode. And I enjoyed it for that reason. And Caleb, expert level spell choice.
Yep.
So much so that he came out without a scratch. And Ford almost died. And I was like, that's like the perfect example of like Caleb has been the squishy one. He has accepted his role in that. He glories, might be the wrong word choice, but he definitely appreciates his friends protecting him.
Yeah.
And Ford does not.
Boast in it. Yeah. A bit. The other thing with, you mentioned Caleb saying that, he didn't get a scratch. I'm sorry. Just friendly advice out there to you players. You never smugly say you did not get hit once in front of your GM.
I do it.
Because, I'll make a note of that.
Yeah.
You want to get smug? The next one will know to go after the spellcasters.
Yeah.
I do it too at times, but...
Yeah, and then Caduceus essentially doing his best to keep everyone alive.
Yes.
Despite Taliesin forgetting what his bonus actions are.
Yeah.
And more Druid coming through because he cast Blight. That to me, well, and maybe it's because Marisha used it a lot as one of her heavy-hitting spells.
Yeah. Well, it is... Not that it's solely Druid, but it is a more Druidic spell.
Yeah. Because it does extra damage to plants.
Yeah.
And
I don't think all clerics get it, do they? It's not a base cleric spell. Isn't it from his?
That I'm not sure about. But you might be right. It might be a domain spell.
Yeah. I think it's like Druids, Rangers, and a few domains get it.
But yeah, a meta moment, and also in character, was after Jester brings Bo back. Bo says, "Why aren't you a sorcerer or a wizard?" Which is what a lot of people have been saying to Laura.
Yeah.
Why did you choose a cleric? I don't know. I love that.
Yeah. And I mean, the cleric is traditionally the healer, You don't have to be a healer to be a cleric.
Well, and she outright says, I have taken up the approach that the monsters doing less damage is better and more efficient than healing it.
Right.
And which, from a numbers and mechanics perspective, is true.
To a degree, yes.
You're always going to be doing more damage than you can heal.
Yeah.
And like the Rimmeraz, there's no way they could heal enough to soak that damage.
Yeah, no. 50
So
points, that's a pretty high level cure wounds.
higher than they can cast. Because even at their 4th level spots that they were using, they were only healing 30 something.
Well, they can heal a 5th level spot, but I think they only have 1 each.
Yeah.
And I think they're saving it for raised dead.
Yeah.
Just in case they're too late for Revivify.
Yes. And I don't know if Taliesin doesn't have the will to take most advantage of his domain in waiting for everyone to drop before he heals them, because he keeps throwing out heals before everyone's at 0.
I think Taliesin takes the same approach to healing I do. Yes, mechanically, mathematically, it is more efficient in a numbers game to wait till they drop to heal. But you don't know that. You don't know how close they are. You don't, like... To a degree, your character, it's like...
So for any other cleric, I buy that argument.
So,
but for the Grave Cleric, who maximizes healing...
IRL, should I wait until you are flatlined to perform CPR? Should I wait till you are flatlined to render first aid?
Well, chest compressions, yes.
Okay, but yes, that's why I reworded it, because yes.
Yes.
But should I
wait till you're dead until you render aid? I get what you're saying.
You know, and I think Taliesin sees it the same way.
That's fair. And there's also the action economy argument that waiting until somebody drops to 0, you might lose their action in the initiative.
Yeah.
And it's better to juice them a little bit to keep their action in the mix. That's the other side of the argument.
Yeah.
But
especially if they can do more damage than you can.
Yeah. Well, and this largely comes down to the same sort of place where my desire for zealot barbarians to die at least once in the campaign.
Yeah.
You should take advantage of your class abilities. But not shows a similar mind for the right spell at the right time by casting Phantasmal Force to make it believe that bow is wiggled out of its mouth and moves away.
Yes.
And Caduceus, trusting in his faith and his friends, casts Death Ward on himself, and then he heals himself. And this is where I say Matt was kind.
Yes.
The 2 times that Matt was kind. He doesn't inflict damage on Caduceus while he is swallowed, which he should have.
Yep.
Yes, because of what Caduceus had done, it would have saved him.
Well,
but
you have the argument that not the parapet would have saved him. The Death Ward just gave him an extra round of pain.
It's also true. Yes. So yeah,
no matter how many times he takes damage and starts bleeding out, he stabilizes automatically.
Yeah. So I think in that way, Matt was like, okay, there's no point in running through that circle. So instead, why I say he wasn't as kind as he was a little kind, but also not, is he was finding every little way possible to inflict damage on Ford. Because in theory, the damage that Ford took, Caduceus should have taken.
Yeah.
And he didn't.
Yeah, I agree. I personally would have inflicted the damage on both of them.
Yeah. So yeah, does it matter in the end? Probably not. Except that I think he wanted Ford to be terrified. I think. And I think if he wanted that, then he probably should have done more damage to Ford when Bigby's hand was stretching him. And probably, what is it, 5d6 that Bigby's hand does? Something like that. I probably would have done that plus Bigby's hand strength.
Right.
Plus 8.
And see, if I had been in that fight and a spellcaster, if I had been one of the people with access to polymorph, I would have pulled a Tommy Lee Jones. I would have gotten swallowed and then polymorphed into a T-Rex.
Yeah. Eat me! Yeah.
I'm going after my gun. That's how I would have handled that encounter.
Yeah, fair. But Jester gets both. How do you want to do this?
Yep.
And another instance of Widow Jest, when Liam's like, get you a woman who can do both.
Yes. Yes.
So.
Because she's high cleric. Why weren't you a wizard? I don't know.
And she killed everything. And then the next day, she cast Pass Without a Trace with 5 or 6 spell slots.
Yeah, 5, I think.
Such a good spell.
Such a great spell.
Yeah. I think it's interesting, but I do have a tip.
Okay.
For people who are playing. And this is how I would do it when I would cast it, if I were to cast it. You cast it when you leave your campsite. You let it lapse for an hour. And then you cast it again. You let it lapse for an hour. Cast it again.
Yeah.
And then when you say, or basically you break up your castings.
Mm-hmm.
And then you say, okay, last hour before we're going to camp, cast it again.
Yep.
So it covers it stops anyone tracking you to your campsite. That's the way I would do it. But she was just burning through them.
Yeah. And depending on my DM, like if you were my DM, another thing I would do is a half hour before that final cast, hey, let's go a little bit out of our way. And then cast it and cut back. So if they track, they keep going that way.
Yeah. Yeah. But it gets them to Uthodurn. And they meet a guard.
Yes, the glass blades.
Yes,
right? Yes.
Glass blades. Which they're like, ooh, glass blade. That's what you. He's like, it's just a title. Yeah, it doesn't mean anything. It has no connection to whatever you're thinking about. But he says no funny business, and immediately they see goats, and Travis is like, I wonder if they faint. Make an intimidation check. Natural 20. They stampede because they're 8-foot tall goats. They don't faint.
Yes.
These goats fight dire wolves.
And I get that 4 didn't know that, but did they forget the Goat Knights in Craghammer?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, probably. But Matt describes it as a diarchy,
Yes.
which is ruled by 2 separate entities. Which sounds like they have a separate but equal situation
Yeah.
happening. But I'm wondering where the split is. If it's everything on the ground in Uthodurn is Dwarven, and everything above the Elven architecture, if that is the domain of the elves.
Mm-hmm.
So
Awesome.
while we have been thinking that this is and we were presented with a well-integrated
Yes.
society.
It could be very Jim Crow.
I wouldn't go that far, but I don't think it's as perfect as as the players have been made to believe.
And
and I'm wondering if that's going to be our arc in Uthodurn. Is puzzling that out. Because I think from a narrative perspective, Matt could give them this problem here to solve, so that they can solve the problem between the dynasty and the
empire. Here's the conflict on a smaller scale.
Right. And here are the things that might crop up if you wanted to propose this on a wider scale.
Yeah.
Between these 2 factions. Not to say that elves and dwarves have the same sort of relationship that the dynasty and the empire have.
Right.
But if it comes down to, hey, you both can exist on this continent without killing each other, which may be the final corporeal and end state that Matt might be trying to go for, or that the players will go for because they're Americans in the 21st century.
Right.
So yeah, that's where my mind was going with Uthodurn as presented. Also, 1,500 feet across and like an auger wheel going down. An interesting dwarven architecture.
Yes.
Designing dwarven cities has always been an interesting challenge for me.
Okay.
Because you have to think about where does the smoke go? Where, there's all these things. And in several of the dwarven cities in my Force World setting, basically the higher up you are in geography, the lower class you are.
Yeah.
Because all the smoke rises, you get all the pollution. Living higher up is really crap.
Right.
And living at the base is where your high class people are. Which I don't know if Matt thinks that way. Craghammer, I certainly don't remember being presented that way. But it's interesting that the Elven architecture in Uthodurn is above.
Yes.
Everything.
Yeah.
So it will be an interesting exploration, I think.
I think it will. So we have not going and getting information.
Yes.
And
we skipped the tree race.
We did. We skipped the
Do you want to talk about that?
I was going to circle back to it if we had time.
Okay.
We can talk about it, though. race is a very generous term.
Yeah. Great interaction between Bo and Not.
Yes.
And possibly a taste of things to come. Because I'm worried that this is the beginning of a prank war between them.
Yes. The Vax Grog conflict.
Yeah, or even just the not for thing, but with a little more aggression.
Yeah. I mean, she shot her in the ass.
Yeah. But she also tried to kill Not.
Yeah.
By throwing her out of a tree. Twice.
Yes.
And also...
So she knew she had Featherfall. I mean, can you kill a monk throwing them out of a tree?
No.
Can you kill someone with Featherfall throwing them out of a tree?
It's fair, I suppose.
My question is, whose responsibility is it to get the bullet out? On one hand, Not's the one that shot her. On the other hand, you have two healers in the party. On the other hand, if you're a 9th level monk and you get shot and you get hit with a projectile, it's kind of your own damn fault you didn't deflect missiles. Especially when it's just this,
Which, especially after the DM goes, are you going to allow that? Yeah.
I mean...
Also, Not should have won that race.
Yes.
Hands down. No contest.
Yes.
Not can move 125 feet a turn to Bo's 90.
Yes.
Unless she spends key points.
Correct.
So, it really shouldn't have been
a contest.
Yeah. Now, Bo has an advantage also that she has wall running.
Yes.
Now. So in theory, she doesn't have to half her climb speed.
Correct.
Or half her speed to climb.
Well, which is why she gets 90 feet.
Yeah.
45 and 45.
So, yeah, okay, well maybe Bo should have won a hands down. Either way, if they did things in a mechanical fashion, with doing the math, one of them would have won hands down.
Yeah.
Without.
And I think it should have been Bo. Unless the only switch would be as if Not had been a thief instead of a arcane trickster with the climb speed.
Yeah.
Then move dash dash, she wins.
Yeah. Yeah, but that was sort of a sidetrack, and I think was a result of the break.
Yeah.
More than anything. But yeah, a little sidetrack. But yeah, back to Uthodurn.
Yes.
Not actually does the politicking, as it were.
Yep.
Because she has the never-ending supply of peace offering in her pocket. Although she pays for the drinks.
Mm-hmm.
And says, I'll probably steal from him later. And Caduceus threatens her with forgiveness if she doesn't.
Well, yeah, and that's the other thing we skipped over is this is the second time she's tried to blow Caduceus when he's been near death.
I thought, so when I was doing my notes, I thought about putting that in when we were talking about the combat, but I think it's more relevant later.
Yeah.
But yeah. Which signals that bugged Caduceus. And I think it signaled to Not that she's going to have to.
Well,
she's going to have to deal with it. Because she has been not dealing with it. She's been avoiding it.
So, the first one I get. Okay. One's my bad. The second one, after your party tactician has said, don't use fire. You got to take that one a little personal.
Yeah.
The first one you can overlook. Okay, it was an accident. You weren't expecting. Okay, now you were told not to use fire against this thing, and you still did while I was there. This is a pattern.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's true. But she doesn't steal from them. And we get sendings to Essek.
Yes.
Reiterating Caleb's request that they not kill the Scourger until he can talk to him.
Yes.
Do you think Liam has a plan for an interrogation?
I do. I don't know what it is, but I think it's going to reveal some more of Liam's backstory.
Okay.
I think there's either something he's going to do interrogation-wise that's going to reveal something about him, or he needs information that's going to reveal something about his backstory.
Yeah, I think his plan is to get relevant intel on the Cerberus Assembly that's relevant to him, that may also be of use to the dynasty. But yeah, I think he's definitely angling for what's his face's current disposition.
Definitely.
And also who the blonde guy is.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling that Matt has a timetable in his head on how many days she's going to be in prison, and they are rapidly approaching that limit.
Yes. I mean,
because they went stealthily to Uthodurn. So it took them 2 whole days instead of a day and a half.
I think he probably gave it a chance that Essek would be able to extend it a little bit, but there'll be a limit to that extension.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes, and then we've got.
I kind of want to be there because I can imagine a scene happening where Essek goes to ask her about Caleb. Because he was there with the first interrogation.
Yeah.
So he might be like, he really wants to talk to you himself. Why do you think that is? What can you tell me about him? And that's how Essek gets her execution extended. Because if he can get her to start spilling the beans on Caleb, who she thinks is a burned asset, but if somehow she can pump them for information, because we don't know the protections that those cells have on it.
Yeah.
Whether or not she can be contacted by sending. She can't send a message because she needs a copper wire or her arcane focus or what have you. But in theory, unless there are protections placed on it, she could be contacted.
Yeah.
So maybe if this opportunity presents itself, she could be ordered to begin to cooperate, give them information to find out what they know and what they're asking about Bren. And to do her best to get a positive identification.
A couple of thoughts that came up for me is, one, it doesn't matter that he wants to talk to her. She recognized him. She called him out on it.
Yeah.
That's got to pique his interest.
Yeah.
2, we don't know how close he is with the guy that called them out for attacking him. What if he goes and questions her? Hey, tell me about these people that I don't trust.
Yeah. That's true too.
I can see either of those being things that are happening behind the scenes while they're off gallivanting.
Yeah. Well, and if Dyron finds out but somebody that can lead her to information and the Empire is being held by them. Does she try to get them out, find a way to question them herself, and offer to help them escape in exchange for information? So it's a ticking time bomb either way.
And I could see if Dyren finds out, wanting to go with Caleb to question this person, using the alter self to disguise herself as another person, looking like a bow. Oh, she's someone who has interrogation techniques. Well, guess what? Dyren has the same techniques.
Yeah.
Click, click, click. Tell me the truth.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I thought, honestly, that was going to happen before they left.
Yeah.
But, because I thought, I mean, in my mind, that was going to be part of the trade-off with Dyren to not be like, oh, fuck you, you've turned on the, which didn't happen the way I thought it would. So,
right. Yeah, that whole thing didn't happen.
But I still think that would be something Dyren would be very much excited to do.
Yeah. I need to give a shout out to Matt and his description of fungus-based pastries, because that's another thing that really adds. I mean, George Martin gets a lot of flack.
Yeah.
For that, he describes, for pages what's being eaten, but food is such a huge, important part of a culture.
Very much so. It is. Anyone who's traveled to other countries knows this.
Yeah. And I had a recent interaction in a rock gnome or Smurfeblin sort of squat. And the Smurfeblin offer them a stew. And I described that there are little floating balls in the stew. And then when they bite into them, it's like a dry boba. Because it's essentially a mushroom. And when you bite into it, it explodes into the powder. And I did it in such a way that my players would not like it. And it got the desired result.
Nice.
So it's that kind of alien thing. And Matt described it as mocha. And Travis, I could tell that hit a nerve with him. And he's like, no, yeah. So yeah, I have to give a shout out to Matt on that.
Yeah, definitely.
And then another great moment was Jester's ball peen hammer to cap the night off of the genital puns.
Yeah. Real quick, question about the ice floods.
Yeah.
Mithril, which has been breathed on by a white dragon. Is it going to specifically need to be a white dragon, or are there going to be ways to circumvent that?
And that's my number one question.
My ways that I thought of were, one, a white dragonborn. Probably not. Although the closest one is going to be the Ravenite City on the Taldori continent.
Yeah.
Which would be way out of their way. 2, Caleb researching and getting the spell Dragon's Breath, which allows him to have a Dragon's Breath weapon of his choice that he can use as an action every turn for a minute.
Dragonborn will not be sufficient.
That was my thought.
My question is, why does it have to be a white? Why can't it be silver?
It's true.
If it's cold dragon breath weapon, why can't it be silver?
Yeah.
We talked about that there was that other place on the map that the keeper for was at the kiln.
Yes.
I think there's a white dragon there.
I had thought of that too.
Because we have yet to have the, here's our problem, we need you to solve it.
Yeah.
Trope, I guess, for lack of a better word. But campaign design. Or our guest this Thursday.
Yes.
That Matt introduced at the end of the live show.
Yes. Micah Burke.
Which was great that he was able to do that, because that means they're not gonna be sitting off on the side waiting an hour to get introduced. But it's Sam and Laura?
Yes.
Tonight?
Right.
Yeah. So we will see you guys next week. And we'll see if the white dragon has to be, and if it comes from the guest or an NPC.
Yep.
See you guys.